Welcome to the Vikings Now. I'm your host for today's show, Patrick Seatman, as we have another free agent tracker on tap for you guys today. But also, we got to talk about the big question in Minnesota right now, and that is Dalvin Cook leaving the Minnesota Vikings following the re-signing of backup running back Alexander Mattison? That news broke later last night. We're going to be diving into all that and more. We also have some more rumors around the Vikes, and I'm going to be kind of giving you guys my thoughts on the three big signings that they have made so far. But I want to have some fun before we jump all into it. I want you guys just to get in the comments and just name a random Vikings legend. You know, I don't want him to be on the current team. I want you guys to get in your bag, hop in your Vikings knowledge bag, and give me a Vikings random legend. Mine will be Sidney Rice. Now, like I was saying, Alexander Mattison, he is back. He signed a 2-year, $8 million deal with the Vikings yesterday, with 6.35 of that being in guarantees. Honestly, I kind of like this deal. I think it's a solid deal for Alexander Mattison, but I will make this point. This is only a solid deal if they let go of Dalvin Cook. I do not want the Vikings to be sending $20 million of the 2023 cap to the running back position. But Mattison, over his career, I think he's been fine in Minnesota. I mean, if you look at the numbers on screen right now, 401 carries, just over 1,600 yards with an average of 4.1 and 11 touchdowns. I think Mattison has always kind of been that thunder to Dalvin Cook being the lightning. And I've loved what he's done in Minnesota. He's a power back. He falls forward, and I think he could kind of take on the workload as RB1. But if we're taking a look at the Vikings running back room right now where it stands, the two names that I kind of have circled here is Kene Nwangwu and Ty Chandler. Another reason why I think Dalvin Cook is not going to return is because of those two guys. I think you have three running backs that I am more comfortable giving the ball to in Mattison, Kene Nwangwu, and Ty Chandler. And with the re-signing of Alexander Mattison, listen, I think this most likely means Dalvin Cook is no longer going to be on the Minnesota Vikings. I think the Vikings GM, adofo-mensah, he's a big analytical guy, and I think he just understands to win in the NFL, you cannot pay that running back position that much. If you look at like the past Super Bowl champions, when was the last time a star running back was even just on the roster? The last team I can remember is that Seahawks team with Marshawn Lynch. But there's a stat out there, and it shows like the top Super Bowl champion, or the past 10 Super Bowl champions, and their top running backs cap hit, none reach over $7 million. So I think Kwesi, the analytical guy he is, with him re-signing Alexander Mattison, if we can kind of start connecting the dots here, I think this most likely means Dalvin Cook is gone. Now I'm going to make this the pin comment on today's video. Just be honest with me. Do you want to cut Dalvin Cook? Obviously, that option of trade is still out there, but I think it's only for a fourth, maybe in a fifth-round pick nowadays. But do you want to cut Dalvin Cook? Type C for cut or type K for keep. You get hit with a YouTube ad break here. Let it play. Just go down in the comments and answers today's question. You guys know my answer to this. I want to cut Dalvin Cook. I've been saying this for a while. Listen, Dalvin Cook, he's a great dude. He's great for the city of Minnesota. We're always hearing about what he does off the football field, and he's been fantastic at that. He's a great locker room guy, and it hurts that we would have to cut him. But if you look at the production, the last 3 years, the yards per carry, it goes down every single year. And if you're talking about rushing yards over expected, a kind of nerd analytical stat for Dalvin Cook, this past year, he was in the negative for the first time. So pretty much they were saying the expected yards that Dalvin Cook was supposed to get on the year, it should really be around 1,200 for the 2022 season. Other guys, like the top running backs in the league, they're all in the green. Dalvin, for the first time in his career, was in the negative. I think it's time to go move on. He's washed. He has too big of a cap hit. Can he be productive somewhere else? Sure. I just think his time in Minnesota is done. Now let's break down the three big key free agent signings. The first one being Byron Murphy. I think Byron Murphy, this was the first big-time splash signing for the Minnesota Vikings. This was great to see. I mean, Byron Murphy, what he's done to the kind of this cornerback depth chart for the Vikes, I think it's taken it from an extremely shaky group and now to a pretty solid group. And especially if you would add a guy in the draft, this cornerback group could really take the next step up. Obviously, I'm going to be pounding the table for Duke Shelley in this upcoming year, and I expect guys like Andrew Booth Jr. and Caleb Evans to kind of take that year two leap. But if Byron Murphy is your CB1 and maybe you draft a guy like a Deonte Banks or a Joey Porter Jr. or any of those top corners, I will really feel confident about this cornerback room. But I think this defense next year, I think it's going to be legit. You know, this past year for the Vikes, last in about everything. They were one of the worst defenses in the league. Get rid of Ed Donatel. Get rid of some of the older, slower guys like an Eric Kendricks already, and you're bringing in a ton of new weapons. Overall, I think this defense, I think it's going to be great. I think they're going to really turn it on their head. I'm looking at guys like Brian Asamoah, Andrew Booth, Caleb Evans, and also Lewis Seen, those year 2 guys. I really expect them to kind of take that step up this year, and I think they have a chance. I think they really do, but we'll see. And now I do want to talk about the Josh Oliver signing, because I do think the Minnesota Vikings are going to be sitting in a lot of 12 personnel this upcoming year. And I think the Josh Oliver signing has allowed Kevin O'Connell to do that. Josh Oliver, I was a little nervous about the signing. Not nervous about the signing, but I was kind of questioning it, as this was the first move Kwesi made on day 1 of NFL free agency. And hey, adding a great blocking tight end like that next to a TJ Hawkinson, it could be special. But let's look at the Vikings' 12 personnel as the roster sits right now. Obviously, maybe expect to have Alexander Mattison in there and be the running back for there if they do move off of Dalvin Cook. And maybe they will add a guy next to Justin Jefferson who may be a little better than a KJ Osborne. But man, those 2 tight ends, you have one of the best pass-catching tight ends in TJ Hawkinson and one of the best run-blocking tight ends in the league in Josh Oliver. Kevin O'Connell, great move. And again, this is a good but not flashy signing for the Vikes. I think this is a signing that when we all saw it, we were all kind of questioning and being like, why are we going for a blocking tight end and a tight end too when we have all these other needs on the football team? But I think this is a good signing, because those Kevin O'Connell, those Sean McVay guys, they love sitting in 12 personnel, and that's where we are really going to see him hop in his coaching bag and really kind of just take this offense to another level. But I want to ask you guys this, because I saw a lot of negative comments about Josh Oliver. Everybody was kind of saying, why? Why are we doing this? This is a waste of assets. This is a waste of money. Have your thoughts changed, or have you changed your thoughts on John Oliver since the recent signings? Because I think the recent signings kind of led me to sort of believe that this is a solid move. I think this is a good move, but let me know. Have your thoughts changed on Josh Oliver? Type Y for yes or type N for no. Now, we have a great deal going on Fanatics right now. You know who's going to be on the Vikes next year for sure? Is this guy right here, Justin Jefferson. We got all types of jerseys. If you go to chatsports.com/Vikings jersey, you can get a Jefferson, a Kirk Cousins, or you can even throw it back to a guy like a Randy Moss. They're on a great deal right now, and you can even get a Harrison Smith jersey, because you never know. He could be out the door any second now, but you can go get one of those, and always go get a Justin Jefferson jersey. I'll be rocking my 18s on game day as always, but go to chatsports.com/Vikings jersey and get your jersey today. Last signing that we're talking about on today's show, besides obviously shout out to the special teams, Andrew Powell and Greg Joseph, those two getting locked up. Just want to throw that in there. But signing Marcus Davenport, I think that was a big-time move for the Minnesota Vikings and a big-time move for this defense. Overall in his career, 21.5 sacks, 7 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, and 141 tackles on his career. I think this is a signing you could either look at it as a positive or a negative. I think if you want to take the positive outlook on this signing, you could say, hey, listen, he's a guy with tremendous upside. He's kind of battled injuries. He's had suspensions in the past. Maybe he just needs a change of scenery, and he could really live up to that first-round potential because he was the 14th overall pick in the 2018 draft. The upside is there. And if you want to take the negative outlook on this, hey, if you just say, hey, he's had injury history, he hasn't been the most productive, he hasn't lived up to that first-round expectation, you can do that. I'm going to be positive. I'm excited about this signing. Yes, $13 million for Marcus Davenport may be a little much, but it's only a 1-year deal. If it doesn't work out, you just cut bait and he's a free agent next year. But let's just say he does work out and he's a double-digit sack guy for you this year. You know he's going to want to return to Minnesota because Minnesota was the team that took a chance on him, and you could have a future franchise edge rusher in Minnesota. But I do want to touch on this. Does this mean Zadarius Smith is gone? Because the Vikings' edge situation right now is Danielle Hunter, Zadarius Smith. And now obviously Marcus Davenport. And I think Zadarius Smith might be the odd man out here because you save $14.5 million if you cut him post-June 1st. And he has already came out and said he wants to be cut by the Minnesota Vikings. So I think it could be one of those things. Zadarius Smith, with the addition of Marcus Davenport, keep your eye on him. It's kind of funny. The past 2 signings for the Vikes, obviously being Davenport and Mattison, it's kind of connecting the dots, and maybe Dalvin Cook and Zadarius Smith might both be gone. But hey, who knows? Kwesi, whatever's going on in his head, he's cooking. He's doing great work up there in Minnesota. But I think this team has a chance to be special next year. And I want to get you guys' thoughts on this. How many games do you think the Vikings will win next season? Because, hey, I think the Vikings are becoming one of the more disrespected teams in the NFL. I think a lot of people are saying, they won 11 one-score games last season. The regression is going to come. Honestly, if you look at this Vikings team, we had the worst defense in the league. We lost our right tackle, who is a star in Brian O'Neill. The defense, if that just flips on its head and we add guys in the draft and this defense is top 15, the Vikings offense will be top 10. If you just get that top 15 defense, I think the Vikings offense will carry most of the load because you do have a franchise wide receiver, a franchise left tackle, a franchise tight end. They just got to put all the pieces together on the defensive side of the football. But hey, I'm going to be talking about the Vikings all year long on Twitter. If you go give me a follow right there at Pat Seatman NFL. Whatever it is, hit me a DM, ask me a question, whatever it may be. I love chopping it up, love talking ball with you guys. Go down there, follow me on Twitter at Pat Seatman NFL. See you guys next time. Let's go Vikes.